Good morning, guys. So I woke up this morning and opened up my phone. Got a alert that fellow YouTuber who is a current law enforcement officer, security content creator, he was making a video, and one of the video that he's making is talking about whether or not people have the right to film the police. Now, I'm going to admit that I came into the stream a little bit late. He was already deep into, the meat and potatoes of what he was talking about. And I did not see the beginning of the stream. There's probably a ton more that he said in terms of where I'm going to go with my commentary on this. But here's the point, guys. Look, I am of the belief that law enforcement officers at this point, and I hate to put it in a broad stroke, but at this point, people are just being willfully ignorant. My point in saying willfully ignorant is that there comes a point in time where you literally cannot have a conversation any longer. There's nothing else to say. There's nothing else to discuss. There's nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else to explain. It's very, very simple. As much as I respect him, as much as I appreciate his commentary, I appreciate what he's doing for the community in terms of the security community, this conversation around people's First Amendment right to film police officers in public, and you can stretch this out to the conversations about anything dealing with police interactions with the public, right? The Constitution of the United States of America is not up for debate. We keep going through this circular conversation about everything, whether we're talking about freedom of speech, whether we're talking about First Amendment audits, whether we're talking about the Second Amendment, whether we're talking about illegal search and seizure, would be the Fourth Amendment, right? Our Bill of Rights is not something that is up for debate. And the fact that continually police officers in varying situations and circumstances and degrees constantly have this nonsensical conversation about why our rights have to be violated. I'm tired of hearing that conversation. I've yet to hear someone a police officer come on and say, you know what, there's this rise in people filming police officers. Like, clearly we're at a point where everybody has a cell phone. And when we're making traffic stops, people are wanting to film the interaction from the inside of the car. When we're making traffic stops, people are wanting to film the interactions while they're standing around the situation. There's a lot that we don't know. I heard an officer during a First Amendment audit yesterday. I watched a ton of First Amendment audit videos. This guy said something that I thought was absolutely amazing. He was dealing with this First Amendment auditor, and he says, hey man, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. He goes, I don't know every law. I don't. He goes, our law book is this thick. He goes, our policy book is that thick. He goes, you might know more about a law, you might know more about a policy than I do. And I'm willing to be educated. If I am telling you that you can't do something, which at this point was like film in a government building, right? If I'm telling you that you can't do something, which is film in this government building, and you're saying that you can, and once my sergeant gets here, I get some backup, we make sure that everybody's safe and that, you're not a threat. If you're right and I'm wrong, I will apologize. I was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Sergeant gets there. Sergeant's like, yeah, he can film in this area. He can't film in that area. And the guy was like, hey man, I apologize. Have a great day. We're out. Why is that so difficult? Right? But the video that I'm watching this morning, I don't want to mention him by name, and I'm not trying to call you out. You know who you are. I'm not trying to call you out. There's no disrespect. This is not shots fired, nothing like that, right? I'm just talking about a failure to evolve. Guys, if you're a police officer, and I know that if you're a police officer, if you're rank and file officer, you probably have zero option to speak up. God forbid you say anything about what we're talking about. Hey, look, we're really violating people's First Amendment rights by telling them that they can't film in certain locations, by telling them that they can't film their interaction with us. I get it. I get it. Like, I don't like being filmed either. I had an interaction 2 days ago. A guy came into the store and was saying that he wanted us to delete him, if that makes sense, right? I don't want to get my stream shut off or anything. This guy was trying to get us to do something to him, right? And there's people filming the entire interaction. I get it. It puts you in a position where you're like, shit, man, like, I've got all these eyeballs on me. I don't want to do the wrong thing. You shouldn't want to do the wrong thing anyway. Okay? So I understand that it's difficult to have someone have that camera out while you're trying to do your job. They're watching you in a moment when, you know, everything is heightened, where everything is, you know, sometimes out of control. Like, a lot of times when you're having to go hands-on with people, when you're having to detain someone, you're dealing with someone at the absolute lowest point in their life. They're saying things, they're doing things, they're probably being aggressive towards you. I get the feeling of not wanting to be on that camera. That's the job you signed up for, motherfucker. And this attitude that, you know, you can't film, or you shouldn't film, or if you are filming, you need to understand that from the officer's perspective, you could be a gang member. This whole attitude of, we're going to go ahead and violate your constitutional rights because hypothetically a gang member could call another gang member. Calm it down with the gang member shit, okay? 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with a gang member, you know you're dealing with a gang member. You're dealing with the average person in public. And here's a quick news flash to people, okay? I don't know if people understand this or not. A gang member still has constitutional rights, even if he's a piece of shit. Your job as a law enforcement officer is to enforce laws, to apprehend, and to transport. You are not the judge, okay? Shout out to this one cop that I saw yesterday. He goes in to arrest a lady for shoplifting. There's all of these videos about, you know, people being arrested. The cop comes in with his body camera. A lot of times these situations go south, right? This cop comes in, this chick, she's doing the normal shit. She's yelling, she's screaming, I didn't steal anything, fuck you, this, that, and the third. And the cop goes, hey, look, listen to me. He goes, I'm not the judge. I have reasonable suspicion that you stole X, Y, and Z. I'm going to watch this video. If I watch this video and I have probable cause, I'm going to arrest you. And once I arrest you, you can call your attorney. You're going to get an arraignment. You're going to get a court date. You guys can argue all of this in court. I'm not the judge. Bravo. Bravo. Great job. Like, shout out to those 2 officers. I've given you 2 examples where this officer didn't go in there and, like, strong arm this chick, get into an argument, escalate the situation. Hey, just 1 second, calm down. I just got here. I was called. That gives me reasonable suspicion. I'm going to look at this video. If I have probable cause, I'm going to arrest you. If not, I'm going to let you go. Guys, a dirtbag and a drug dealer still have constitutional rights. As frustrating as that might be to someone who's in law enforcement. But we have got to get to a point, and I don't know that it's ever going to happen at this point. I don't know that it's ever going to happen at this point, because you can't get our lawmakers to understand that there's a constitution and that we have certain inalienable rights, and you can't get our law enforcement officers, a large contingent of law enforcement officers, to recognize the constitutional rights of the citizens. It's not up for debate. I say this with all due respect to every police officer out there. Your safety does not trump the Constitution. It is a very dangerous job. It is a very thankless job. It is a job where you deserve so much more respect than what you're given. But if you don't like the job, if you don't feel comfortable in the job, if you don't want to do the job, dude, I'm trying to get on a point here, and the fucking video keeps cutting out. Sorry about that. Hopefully we're still recording. If you're on a traffic stop, he was like, if I'm on a traffic stop and people want to record and they're close to the vehicle and they're in the crime scene, okay. If you have an active crime scene, if you have an active area that you need space, tape it off. Tape it off. And your focus should not be on the people with the damn cell phones out. Focus on the task. In my limited experience of dealing with people while being filmed, I only have so much focus. I can focus on the person who has the knife that is telling me they're about to fucking kill me, or I can focus on the guy who's trying to get cell phone footage to put up on YouTube. I don't like it. I don't like it any more than anybody else. I hate being filmed. Partly because I'm fat and I look horrible when people film me in certain situations. But I can't focus on both of those things. I can't worry about the guy who's trying to get a damn YouTube video and worry about the person that is potentially going to do me or somebody else harm. But too many times, police officers are openly and willfully saying that there is some sort of reason why it's okay to violate our civil rights. And I don't agree with that. I can't believe that I'm the person, like, I don't understand this, guys. I used to be the most liberal person in the world. Excuse me. Literally the most liberal person. And I can't believe that in 2024, I'm the guy ranting about the Constitution. And somehow me saying that our rights should not be violated, that's going to be misconstrued as me having a problem with police officers. I cannot say this enough. I do not have a problem with police officers. I'm not anti-police. I'm not for defunding the police. I have no issues with law enforcement in and of itself. The problem I have is that we still have police officers, after everything that has happened from 2020 to now, the billions of dollars that have been spent, the billions of dollars in damage that has been done to this country, the division between people, the division between races, the division between classes, all of the conversation, all of the arguments, all of the protests, all of the riots, all of the cops that have walked off the job, all of the people that have decided not to become police officers, all of the problems. We all can see it. Whether you're on the right or you're on the left, everybody sees all of the problems. They see all of the results. And we've yet to have any conversation where it's being led from the police department. I am tired of hearing about transformative change from people on the far left. I don't want to hear about it from people that are pro-Antifa, pro-BLM. Fine. Then where are the cops? Where are the cops that are saying, okay, we're going to take the bull by the horns and we are going to change this aspect of what's going on? And right now, what I'm talking about is people's constitutional rights. I have there's a very popular YouTube creator who has become extremely famous. This guy does a lot of police content. Most of his police content is structured around tactics. My argument with the YouTube creator that does a lot of security content like myself and this law enforcement creator is that by focusing on tactics, you're putting police officers in a position where their thought process is more military than it is public service. And that if you have a military mindset when you're approaching someone, you're already putting yourself in an us versus them situation. How can that situation not go south with all of the things that people are experiencing, feeling, and expressing about law enforcement in general, and then you're approaching the situation like you're in Fallujah, right? That there needs to be a equal focus on de-escalation, on public service, respecting the Constitution, right? So I reached out to this guy because he had on his channel, he was like, you know, I'm a law enforcement officer. I want to see things change. I want to see things get better. I want people to reach out to me. You know, let's do content creation. So I reached out to the guy. He contacts me. He's like, you know, give me your background and like what you want to do and what you want to talk about. I provide all that information, but I know that he doesn't want to have this conversation. He doesn't want to have this conversation because he doesn't want to be pressed by someone who's going to ask him these very simple questions that I'm proposing right now. Why is it okay for you to violate people's rights? That is the only question that I want to ask him. And most law enforcement officers refuse to either A, answer that question, or B, take the reins and go, you know what, it's not right. It's not okay. That's not my job. If I don't have probable cause on a situation, I shouldn't be doing this. If I don't have the authority to do A, I shouldn't be doing B. And it doesn't matter, because you're an American citizen, and ultimately my job is to protect and serve, not to get the win. And too many officers are focused on the win to the point that they are, get out of away from me. Hang on a second. Would you go around me? The fuck? Too many officers are focused on the win, and they're not focused on what's right. It doesn't change anything, guys. If you are in a situation and with any aspect of policing, it doesn't change your authority, it doesn't change your ability, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't make you less of an officer to not win a situation. First Amendment audits being the biggest example of this, right? You'll hear auditors that will say, hey, you know, there's no crime being committed here. You have established that there's no crime being committed here. You know that I'm well within my rights to do this. Go ahead and bounce. And the fact that someone says something like, go ahead and bounce, it becomes an ego battle. And now these cops grow roots and they stand in this one spot, and it becomes a back and forth. There are literally probably hundreds of thousands of First Amendment audit videos on YouTube. My degree is in communications. One of the things that I would say, if I was a communications officer or communications manager or director for a law enforcement agency, I would put out a memo. Clearly, this is not stopping. It's not going away, right? First Amendment audits are going to happen. Why has there not been a mass email or memo that has gone out that says people are out doing First Amendment audits, and if you violate someone's rights on camera and they're live streaming this, more than likely this is going to lead to a lawsuit. Not only does it lead to a lawsuit, it continues to perpetuate the negative stereotype that we're violating people's rights, right? Don't do it. Don't get caught up in it. If someone is at a post office, they're at a government building, they're outside of a, you know, school superintendent building, not the school where the kids are, but a school superintendent building, and they're videoing, this is what they're trying to do. This is why they're doing it. And although it's annoying, although it gets on your nerves, although you don't appreciate it, and other people feel inconvenienced by it, if they are doing this in this area, that's legal. And since it's legal, don't harass them. Make sure they're not creating a disturbance. Make sure they're not perpetuating a crime. Make sure that they're not doing anything nefarious. Aside from that, once you've established that, leave them alone, because they're American citizens. And at the end of the day, they have the right to do what they're doing. How awesome would it be when someone shows up to a post office, to a government building, to any situation where they're performing a First Amendment audit, and a police officer shows up and he says, hey, I'm just here to make sure there's no issue, there's no crime. I've established that. You guys have a great day. You do that 600 times, there's nobody that's still filming these situations. But it's so difficult for people to just do the right thing. It's absolutely crazy. All right, let's see what we got here. Good morning, morning. Super security left off by cops and residents. Video I thought. Yeah, I saw a video. I don't know if this is the one that you're talking about, but I am going to do a video on that tomorrow. Brief synopsis. Yeah, it was strong enough to not allow people. You're right. They have created an environment where good officers are not encouraged to speak out against the bad officers. If you want the officers to be respected, then you have to hire guys. Look, the fact that I say these kind of things is the number one reason why I could never be picked up in law enforcement. This conversation, when I was working for a state prison system. All right. When I worked in a county correction system, the same way that I talk, the same way that I carry myself, this is how I was. I didn't have any issues with the inmates, and I didn't have any issues with the staff, other than the fact that I was only the second black person that was ever hired, and there was a lot of racism underlying. When I left the county prison and went to the state prison, within the first 2 or 3 days, I got pulled aside by a lieutenant. He was like, look, don't come in here saying sir to these people. Don't come in here with none of this like respect, no dapping people up. No, he was like, none of that. Okay? It's us versus them. And they're fucking inmates. You talk to them like they're inmates. You treat them like they're inmates. We're not on the same level. We're not on the same level as in terms of people. We're not on the same level in terms of men. We're not on the same level. Don't come in here with that bullshit. I knew right off the bat I wasn't going to last because I'm not going to treat people like that, right? And when it comes to policing, I, in 2020, applied for 2 police positions. But my attitude on right and wrong, it does not change when I put on a uniform. My attitude of ethically and morally sound does not change when I put on a badge. And for some reason, that's a bad thing. The fact that I speak out about these kind of things, the fact that I have a conversation like this, it does not make me desirable to be a police officer. And that should tell you everything that you need to know. It's not that I'm brash, I'm not cocky, I don't think that I'm anything better than anybody else. I'm not arrogant. I am a very empathetic, sympathetic, a very reasonable, articulate person. Anyone that has worked with me, anyone that supervises me, anyone that has had any actual interaction with me would tell you that I'm a great person. Most people, content creators included, say you would make a great police officer. But the problem is that the system of policing does not want someone with my viewpoint working in law enforcement, because I'm going to call this shit out. And that should be a huge red flag about the problems. But it's not for me to continually come on here and say, hey, police officers, you need to speak out. The cops have to speak out. There is a very, very, very viral YouTube short creator, a very viral TikTok creator that is a police officer, a tenured police officer. This guy's been in the game for a long time. I emailed him. I said, hey, man, I would love to interview you. And he sent me an email back and he goes, ever since I started making content creation, talking about police officers needing to change the way that they approach things, needing to do better, needing to respect the public, needing to not violate people's rights, I've had a target on my back. That's what he said to me. I can't even interview with you until I get out of the game because it's hot out here for me. And this guy has said nothing but stop doing that to people. Stop doing that to people. Stop treating people this way. That's not what we're supposed to be doing in our profession. We need to do better. That's all this guy has said. We need to do better from his perspective as a law enforcement officer. And he has said, there's a huge target on my back. I got to get out of this game. Why are law enforcement officers not coming on and saying, that's not okay? The content creator that I'm associated with, that I consider to be, I wouldn't say a friend, but an associate, somebody that I respect, instead of getting on the video and talking about why you're in danger and why someone shouldn't be filming you from a certain distance, okay, we got that. Now, on your side of the equation, what should change about the officers, right? Let's focus on that. My channel, I don't come on here and talk about security and say, you people need to treat security differently. I talk about what security needs to do. I try to fix my own house. And I'm sure that in his video, he does that. I'm sure that he goes into that. I'm sure that he talks about that. But that is what I want to see from people on that side. If you're a law enforcement officer and you're creating content, you guys have to be the ones that are talking about this stuff from the position of change. Otherwise, people's perspective of you and what you do, it's not going to change. And the divide is going to continue to grow. The wedge is only going to get bigger. And it's only going to lead to more death and destruction on both sides. And we don't need that. None of us should want that. None of us should want to see that. So the fact that we continue to see horrible things happening in the street on both sides of the equation, someone has to say, how do we fix it? And the only way that we can fix it is that both sides have to come to the table with some change. And that includes law enforcement officers. All right, got to go to work.